FBI Director Kash Patel was on Capitol Hill today for a hearing in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He was talking about firings at the agency. He talked about the Epstein files and his handling of the investigation into the Charlie Kirk assassination. So here's a moment from the hearing. This is Senator Cory Booker, Democrat from New Jersey, and Kash Patel's response.
I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing. Because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose.
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is my time.
I follow you on your social media posts that tear this country apart.
To address your falsehoods.
So, Tom, I do that just to remind people of what passes for exchange of views on the Senate these days. What did you make of the hearings?
I mean, that wasn't even the worst one. The one with Patel and Adam Schiff, where they were just sort of yelling over each other for like a minute.
You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution.
Look, I hate these hearings. I really do. I don't know. It seems like, and I complain about them all the time, so I know I sound like a broken record, but our politics now has gotten so partisan and so performative that we can't seem to have hearings, particularly when you have someone like Cory Booker, who's running for president, right? Clearly, and who wants to make a show of things because he knows that's what his constituents want. And then you've got Kash Patel, who wants to, is just completely fed up with, being lectured by Democrats. So he goes back at him I don't know, Carl, you've covered Washington for a lot longer than I have. I mean, you just can't imagine anything like this happening in a hearing 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I mean, there was a level of decorum and respect that these hearings had. Now, I don't know that necessarily equates with we got more information from people and they were somehow, maybe that's true, but at least these days, it's just hard to watch because it's so cringy. It looks like a bunch of kids screaming at each other and doing it for reasons other than to inform and enlighten the public about what's going on.
I agree with that completely, Tom. And I'm very critical of the Democrats for this because today's hearing is a good example, and that clip that Andy played perfectly illustrates it. Cory Booker seems to be cutting a campaign ad, is what he's doing. He's not trying to elicit information from the witness. And in this case, there were questions to ask Kash Patel that I think he would have trouble answering. And that, they have fired, there's a lawsuit about it, and the New York Times has a nice story about it, but they fired all these FBI agents who they think were part of the team that criminalized the differences Trump had with the archives and with Jack Smith, and these are FBI, these are field agents. Some of them they've fired had nothing to do with the case they were accused of. They've apparently been confused with somebody else. They've been sort of openly slandered by Kash Patel and right-wing bloggers. And I would have liked these guys to ask Kash Patel specific questions about these agents, two of whom were combat veterans of the United States military. Why did you let this person go? He says he wasn't even assigned to that case. What's your, and just let him talk. And this, it's the rudest thing that Democrats do it more than Republicans. It's you ask a question and then you shout at him, yes or no answer. And then he starts to answer, you interrupt him and start shouting, I reclaim my time. Kash Patel used that line against the Democrats, say, this is my time. They ask a question, they should get some answers. And I think Kash Patel in a respectful hearing would have trouble answering some of these questions. Yeah. And instead they just wanted to grandstand and make points with their base. It's not effective politics. It's not even very patriotic in my view.
Yeah, I was struck, by that Cory Booker saying that you will not be here long. That was the Kash Patel Job Security Act he just enacted right there, because there's one thing Trump will do. He will keep Kash Patel in that chair.
He's not going to let Cory Booker fire him, in other words.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just seemed like he doesn't quite understand the game that's being played.
Or maybe it's reverse psychology. He wants Kash Patel in that job, so he knows how Trump will react if he says that he's going to fire him.
Oh, it's like the Battle of Wits in The Princess Bride. Yes.
I'm not sure that we might be giving Cory too much credit.
Right. But, Kash Patel has been criticized from the right for his handling of this investigation into the Charlie Kirk assassination. It was, I think, 33 hours was between the horrendous act and when they put him in custody. So that seems to be a pretty, I don't think you could fault them for not moving quickly or being efficient. But Tom, do you have any problem with the way Kash Patel handled this? Because other people on the right do.
I mean,
Well, wait a minute. He announced they had a suspect in custody before they did. That's not great, Andy.
Well,
that's my question.
Okay.
I think
words
that's
into Tom's mouth, but
that's what got him into trouble, because it happened twice, and that doesn't instill a ton of confidence if you grab someone and then have to release them, and grab somebody else and have to release them. So I understand where the criticism is coming from. To your point, Andy, 33 hours in the grand scheme of things, that's pretty quick. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. But, there were reports that Patel, was on a conference call with his guys and ripped him a new one. And so I think the jury's still out on him as, I'm not willing to say he's a terrible leader and doesn't deserve to be in that job. But I understand where the criticism is coming from because of the way this very, very high profile sort of crisis situation was handled. Yeah. Some aspects of it anyway.
I think he said he was just being transparent, Carl.
Yeah. But Andy, back to, there's the criticism of him from law enforcement is that he's taking orders, presumably from Stephen Miller, to fire agents he doesn't really know what they did or who they are. And in one of the lawsuits alleges that he admitted too much to an agent named Brian Driscoll. People have told him, don't fire this agent, you're making a mistake. And then he fires that agent and then fires the agent who urged him not to. This is not how you build trust in an organization. They're going to say the view from the Trump side of things is that the FBI had been politicized, intensely politicized. Now, there's two things about that. First of all, it's true. Secondly, it's always been true. That's a very political organization, has been since its outset. If you wanted to make it a more legitimate organization that had the trust of people across the spectrum, that's a noble goal. But they're not going about it in a way that would do that. They're sort of doing what was done to them.
How would you go about doing that, Carl?
Well,
I'm interested.
Okay. This is the Carl Cannon plan for the FBI.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of great people who work there. I know some of them. Some of their lawyers are terrific people. Some of the agents too. I would take the FBI building, the J. Edgar Hoover building, and raise it to the ground. I would build in that space, rebuild the museum. In some other place in Washington, I would build a new FBI headquarters, and I would make everybody reapply for their job. And it would be explained to them, we're not going to do what we've done in the past. Since the days when we attacked Martin Luther King and the days we tried to set up Trump, we're not going to do any of that. We're a law enforcement agency. And I always have Congress narrow the scope of what they're doing. They shouldn't have to do background checks on federal employees. They shouldn't have to still do bank robberies. They should do, domestic terrorism and, violent crime that crosses state borders. Narrow their scope, get real cops in there, and announce to the world and to each other that they're not going to be political anymore in a brand new building, not named after J. Edgar Hoover. That's my plan.
Okay. So here's one problem I see with your plan. Do you trust,
only one?
Only one. The main problem I see with that, do you trust the Trump administration or, the Gavin Newsom administration or the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez administration to do the hiring and to hire people, based on that criteria? I mean, is that really possible to hire agents who are apolitical?
You both know what's coming, and I am expecting the derision. We need a blue ribbon panel.
Yes, there we go.
Now I really know your plan's in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I was for your plan up until that moment. With the exception, I would relocate it outside of Washington, D.C. I think that would be
bingo.
I would do. I'd put in
Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City. That's my choice too.
That's my choice. That would be
right.
Yeah. And as far as the museum,
they can investigate whether the Kansas City Chiefs are 0-2.
Right. And expanding the museum or bringing the museum back, that's actually an interesting thing. I'll have to think about that. I'm not. The museum was a great place. I used to tape a lot of shows there, and a great studio on the top floor. I miss that.